Impeachment talk has officially made its way back to Washington. And no, this is not about fringe ideas with no backing. This is about real movement. 140 members of Congress are now pushing forward. You heard that correctly. 140 lawmakers voted in favor of impeaching the president. That puts the Senate on the path toward yet another trial. And this is all happening as the 2026 campaign season begins to heat up. Before we go any further, let's be honest about something. You can't rely on mainstream media anymore. If you want to support what we do, join a community that actually values the truth. The vote itself unfolded under intense pressure. The clerk called the roll, asking for each verdict. The reaction on the floor was immediate and deeply divided along party lines. Senators rose one after another to cast their votes. Some responded loudly and defiantly. Others spoke softly. But the record tells a clear story. The two major parties were completely split. For every guilty vote, there was a not guilty vote right behind it. The chamber echoed with those declarations. It was a long, grueling process that exposed just how deep the divide has become. Names were called in alphabetical order, and the outcome was largely expected. Democrats mostly voted guilty. Republicans voted not guilty. The polarization in the room was impossible to miss for anyone watching. Here's how this all unfolded. Texas Representative Al Green is leading the charge to impeach Trump. On December 11th, he forced a critical vote in the House. Technically, the House voted to table his resolution, which means it was blocked from moving forward right away. In fact, Democratic leadership joined Republicans to shut the effort down entirely that day. But here's the part that really stands out. Even with leadership opposing it, 140 members still voted to advance the impeachment. That number is massive. It's far higher than the vote we saw back in June. Put that into perspective for a moment. This isn't just a small group of progressives casting symbolic votes. This is nearly 1/3 of the House going on record. That matters. That is a serious block of Congress signaling they are prepared to put the president on trial. And Al Green is not retreating. He recently delivered a fiery speech on the House floor. He accused Trump of making political violence seem normal. He announced what he called a countdown to impeachment before the Christmas recess. He said he plans to file additional articles. And he made this statement, what cannot allow him to normalize the idea that you can hang members of Congress simply because you strongly disagree? Pause on that for a moment. A sitting member of Congress is accusing the president of normalizing threats to hang lawmakers. That's not exaggeration. That's not political drama. That is a direct charge that Trump has made political violence acceptable. And 140 members of Congress agreed strongly enough with that argument to vote for impeachment right now. Here's where it becomes even more significant. This isn't Green's first attempt. He has introduced several impeachment resolutions this year. One accused Trump of serious abuse of presidential power. Another claimed Trump overstepped Congress's authority to declare war. There is now a growing pile of impeachment efforts in the 119th Congress, and support continues to increase. House leadership shut this particular effort down, but the momentum is clearly accelerating, and that places the Senate in a nearly impossible situation. If the House passes articles of impeachment, the Senate must respond. They either hold a trial or find a way to bury it. Both options are political explosives. If they hold a trial, it takes over the news cycle completely. It becomes the only thing people talk about. Trump's agenda stalls while the trial plays out publicly. Republicans in swing districts are forced to defend him. And the worst aspects of Trump's behavior get laid bare in public hearings, broadcast nationwide. But if they try to kill it quickly, the optics are just as bad. Refusing a trial or voting to acquit without weighing evidence makes them look like they're covering something up. It sends the message that party loyalty matters more than accountability. That could energize Democrats and independents heading into 2026. Senators are boxed in, and you can already see the maneuvering begin. Some are quietly hoping the House never actually passes impeachment so they never have to face that decision. Others are drafting talking points, ready to label the whole thing a partisan witch hunt. A few may even be privately wondering whether this is the moment to finally break from Trump, even as they fear retaliation from his base. And here's the key timing. This impeachment push is happening while several other major scandals are unfolding. The Epstein files cover-up continues to grow. Allegations of corruption tied to the Kennedy Center are serious. Stonewalling is everywhere. Democrats are constructing a broader narrative that Trump and his allies are corrupt, unaccountable, and dangerous to democracy. Green has explicitly linked his impeachment push to that larger issue of accountability. His message is simple. If Trump is not held accountable for normalizing political violence or abusing his power, then Congress sends a dangerous signal. That signal says presidents can do whatever they want. And that, he argues, puts democracy at risk. So buckle up, because this is about to get intense. We're going to break down Green's accusations. We'll examine the vote count. We'll explain why 140 members supported impeachment. We'll walk through the Senate's impossible choice and what this all means for 2026 and beyond. Let's rewind and take a closer look at how we got here. Al Green's impeachment effort didn't start in December. He's been at this for months. He filed multiple resolutions, each with different charges. The first major one focused on abuse of presidential power. Green argued Trump used the office to enrich himself, targeted political enemies, and undermined democratic institutions. At the time, it didn't gain much traction. Many Democrats were hesitant. They feared energizing Trump's base. Then came another resolution centered on usurping congressional authority, particularly in foreign policy. Green argued Trump made military commitments without congressional approval. It was a legitimate constitutional argument, but again, support was limited at first. Then something shifted. Over the summer and into the fall, Trump's rhetoric became more extreme. He talked about jailing opponents. He made statements that encouraged violence. He increasingly targeted lawmakers who opposed him. Green seized on that shift and made political violence the core of his impeachment argument. In late November, Green delivered blistering speeches. He said Trump was normalizing political violence and making it acceptable to threaten members of Congress. He talked about physical danger to voters. He pointed directly to Trump's rhetoric about hanging lawmakers who refused to fall in line. Now, you might ask, did Trump literally say he wanted to hang members of Congress? The answer is complicated. Trump uses a tactic often described as stochastic terrorism. He doesn't issue direct orders. Instead, he uses language that signals violence without explicitly calling for it. He'll say things like, "These lawmakers are traitors. And you know what we used to do to traitors?" He lets the implication hang in the air. His supporters understand the message, and it has consequences. Threats against lawmakers have surged, particularly against those who criticize Trump. Capitol Police have documented hundreds of threats. Some members now require security details, and much of it traces back to Trump's rhetoric framing lawmakers as enemies of the people. Green says that crosses a line. A president cannot create an environment where supporters feel justified threatening Congress. That is a direct threat to democracy. It is one branch of government attacking another. The December 11th vote forced everyone's hand. Green used a procedural rule that required the House to vote on his resolution within days of filing it. Leadership couldn't quietly shelve it. They had to take a position. Democratic leadership voted to table the resolution. Leaders like Hakeem Jeffries aren't ready to fully embrace impeachment yet. They worry about political fallout and repeating mistakes from Trump's first term. But 140 members broke with leadership. That's more than double the support from the June vote. It signals growing anger among the base. Those 140 members represent a broad coalition. Yes, progressives like AOC are included, but so are moderates from competitive districts. These are lawmakers who typically avoid controversy. Their support shows just how serious the situation has become. So what happens next? If Green continues to build support, and if additional scandals emerge or Trump's rhetoric escalates, the House could reach a tipping point. A majority could vote to impeach. At that point, it moves to the Senate. Constitutionally, the Senate must act. They can hold a brief surface-level trial and vote to acquit, as they've done before, but they can't ignore it entirely. Republican senators are deeply conflicted. Many don't want to defend Trump's behavior, but they fear his base even more. You'll hear them say they need to see evidence or keep an open mind. But realistically, most will vote to acquit. The real question is whether anyone breaks ranks. During Trump's second impeachment, 7 Republican senators voted to convict after January 6th. They paid a heavy political price. Some retired, others still face threats. That lesson hasn't been forgotten. Still, 2026 looms. If public opinion shifts, if independents turn against Trump, calculations change. Senators care about re-election above all else. Democrats are betting that hearings and public scrutiny will move the needle. This impeachment effort also ties into other scandals. It's part of a larger picture Democrats are painting. The Epstein files suggest a cover-up protecting powerful figures. The Kennedy Center scandal points to misuse of public funds. The impeachment centers on political violence and abuse of power. Together, they form a narrative of corruption and lawlessness. Even if the Senate doesn't convict, impeachment still matters. It forces votes. It dominates media coverage. It shapes how voters view Trump and his party. Al Green understands this. He knows conviction is unlikely, but he believes the process itself has power. The fact that 140 members backed him proves progress. More Democrats are concluding that playing it safe isn't working. Now we're heading toward a collision. Green is promising more articles before Christmas. Support is growing. The Senate is bracing. Trump is doubling down on the rhetoric that created this moment. The next few weeks are critical. If support grows just a bit more, articles could pass. And if that happens, chaos returns. Trials, campaigns, scandals, all colliding at once. At its core, this is about whether Congress still has power. Impeachment exists to check presidential abuse. If it's never used seriously, what's the point? Trump has pushed boundaries like few presidents before him, protected by party loyalty. Green argues Congress must reassert itself. 140 members agree. That number is growing. And the political violence issue is central. This isn't abstract. It's about whether a president can foster fear among lawmakers. Threats are real. They affect Democrats and Republicans alike. Ignoring that sets a dangerous precedent. The Senate now faces its dilemma. Either hold a serious trial and anger the base or bury it and look complicit. That decision could shape the 2026 elections. Democrats are building a cumulative case. Not one scandal, but a pattern. And patterns are harder to dismiss. Will it work? That remains to be seen. Trump will claim victimhood. His base will rally. But this time, more people are paying attention. There's more scrutiny, more concern. Media coverage will be crucial. If this is framed as partisan noise, it fails. If it's framed as accountability over political violence, it could resonate. So Green is making his bet. He believes the accumulation of scandals and escalation of behavior has reached a breaking point. Here's my take. The House likely passes articles sometime in early 2026. Pressure is building too fast to stop it. The Senate holds a brief trial and acquits mostly along party lines, maybe with a couple of defections. It becomes a campaign issue. Democrats argue accountability. Republicans argue distraction. Voters decide. I think it helps Democrats more than it hurts them, but it's risky. If impeachment becomes a spectacle, it backfires. The stakes are enormous. The bottom line is this. 140 members of Congress just voted to impeach the president. That is not insignificant. It's a statement about limits, standards, and accountability. Al Green is betting Congress still has the courage to act. We're about to find out if he's right. The next few months will be chaotic. Impeachment votes, Senate trials, campaigns colliding with scandals. American democracy is about to test itself in real time. If you made it this far, hit subscribe. This fight is just getting started, and we'll be covering every turn. Stay tuned.